everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now in this video, I'm going to be talking about the 10 ways how we're programmed to be poor. So if you're new here, my name is Jodie. I've worked in finance for the last 10 years and lived in London for all of that time as well. I'm obviously an Irish person and created this channel to talk about how people can be better with their money. So let's get into the video. So the very first thing I want to talk about is disregarding financial education. So what I mean by this is when you guys went to school, we had traditional subjects like science, maths, history, geography, but there was never any mandatory subject on financial literacy. So this meant from a very young age that we were kind of taught, hey, looking after your finances is not important because we're not teaching it in schools. And this mentality has set us up to fail a lot of the times as an adult, because we don't understand, the horrors of getting into debt, how to deal with credit, how to budget your money, how to invest. None of us are taught this at a young age, so that means we're more likely to be poor in the future or poor with money management, unless we take it upon ourselves to learn about finances, which not everyone has the luxury or wants to do because we've never had that insight as a child. The second way I want to talk about is championing job security over entrepreneurship. So this was drilled in us again as we were in school, as we were getting an education, maybe in university, later on in life, is the wonders of a 9-to-5 job. And they really push that on us, and not to talk about the entrepreneurial spirit. So just this made us very, risk averse, made us fall in line with the rest of society and not make us think outside the box or, to reach for higher goals for ourselves. But oftentimes when you have a 9-to-5 job, it's not necessarily secure. Unfortunately, I've been in that situation where the team got restructured and I got made redundant just at the drop of a hat. And I know this has happened to friends of mine, it's happened to family of mine. So it's really ironic that as a child and as you're growing up, that they really push, job security on you. But actually, in actual fact, it's not even secure. I always remember this interview with Jim Carrey where he talks about his father was an accountant, I think, and a quote that has stayed with him throughout his life. And the quote was, "You can fail at what you don't want to do, so you may as well take a chance at what you do want to do."
You can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well take a chance on doing what you love.
And ever since I heard that, I really had thought about, what do I want to do? What is my passion? What other multiple streams of income can I bring in that is not just, I'm not so dependent on my 9-to-5 income. And I think that's where people fall down, is this mentality that they'll be secure in their job. And when that rug gets pulled from under them, they're fecked. So number 3, I've got my cat who's joining me on this one, and it's about instant gratification. I recently did a video about this, which I'll pop up here in more detail if you're curious about how to get rid of instant gratification in society. But essentially what I mean by this is we are surrounded by instant deliveries, TikTok reels where everything is fast, fast, fast. You can press a button on Amazon and get delivered to you the same day or the next morning, okay? So we're so used to getting things straight away and getting things what we want, straight away. And this, of course, has fed into that poor programming and poor mentality of if we can have everything we want at our fingertips, of course we're going to have less money at the end of the month because it's, in flashing red, or it's a buy now, or it's a sale, or, you can get this today. And that mindset can be actually quite damaging to your wallet and how you think about money as well. Because when something is on sale, it doesn't mean that you are saving money. It means you are spending money on something that you weren't going to spend money on before. Let's say, for example, there is a coat that is on sale for £100, down from £200. Okay, in your mind, you might be thinking, I'm saving £100 here if I buy this. But actually, no, you are spending £100 because you had no intention of buying that coat before you saw that sale sticker, before you saw it on the website pop up in flashing lights. Okay, so this kind of switch in your mentality will help you decide on what you need to spend money on and what you shouldn't, because it's just frivolous spending. Number 4 is fear of calculated risks. So what I mean by this is we are forever surrounded by sayings like, better safe than sorry, or, you don't want to do that because you don't know anything about it. Or again, that mentality of sticking to a 9-to-5 because it's a safe job. However, this harbors a fear mentality around, what about investing? Because if you're not taught about that in school, it can be scary to step into that unknown. And of course, never invest in something you don't know about. But there's so many free things you can do, from YouTube, that you can learn about investing and learn about financial education. And because of this fear mentality, we often don't invest at all, or we invest very late and we've missed out on all that compound interest that we could have got because we were told, it's scary, or because we weren't taught about it in school. The fear around it is, much greater than actually the wins you could have achieved. So number 5 then is scarcity versus abundance. So this comes in many different forms. Let's say you have graduated from university and let's say there's only 3 spots available for this company that you have to interview for. If you're sitting in the waiting room and there are 20 people in the waiting room, but there's only 3 spots for the jobs, of course it creates that scarcity mindset of there's not enough places here for everyone to win. And this sort of mindset can harbor you and can, be very destructive. I think the scarcity mindset is, of course, a fear-based one as well. And this will, of course, program you to be poor as well, because if you are going into an interview, for example, that same example, but you feel like, hey, I'm not as good as the other 19 people in this room, I'm never going to get it, therefore I will never even try, that is also hindering you as well and keeping you poor in the future. Number 6 then is home ownership. Now, I'll be the first to say I bought this property and it's a leasehold property in the UK. And of course, you're always, given that mentality of buying a home is really important. However, I've had lots of costs on this property that I had no idea about. And, I have done a video on this as well about leasehold properties if you're curious about buying one in the future, because there are additional costs on service charges. If something goes wrong, even if it's not your fault, like a burst pipe upstairs, you have to pay for it. Okay, so there's this, of course, pressure to buy a property. And even though I love this property and I think I have done the right, decision here, there is that pressure from society to own a property, even if you're not ready. I know people who, wanted to buy a property, but they didn't have an emergency savings pot. They barely had deposit. They would have had to spend everything in their bank account to get that house. And then they would have been on the back foot and really scrimping and saving to even live there. So really have a think before you buy a property. Number 7 then is people don't learn or continuously learn. And this, of course, can set you up for failure financially. Of course, in school, as I mentioned, we don't get taught about finances, and that is a damn shame. But when you're an adult, there is no excuse really. There's so many free resources like this channel, like other channels like Nate O'Brien, Rose Han, Nishka, who all talk about personal finance for absolutely free. So you can learn about budgeting and investing as an adult. But if you don't have the seeds there in the first place to want to learn about it, that can, of course, be a negative. The next tip is challenging cultural norms. So as you know, it is quite unusual for people to be talking about how much salary they make or, what their hourly rate is, even with their friends and family. There's such a hush-hush about people talking about money that, of course, it, creates this layer of secrecy. So if someone is struggling in the family about being in credit card debt, they're less likely to share that because of embarrassment, because of the fact that no one speaks about money. So what I would say is if you have a young family or if you are within a family that is afraid to talk about money, maybe be the first person to share, how you really feel about it, what salary you're making, how you're struggling with payments, and maybe to share how you can budget with each other to help maintain a strong financial mindset. Number 10 is really question your wealth stereotype. If you happen to see a wealthy person in the street driving a Lexus, are you thinking in the back of your head, oh my God, I bet he doesn't give to charity. I bet he has millions in the bank that he doesn't even need that could be better elsewhere. I bet he gets weighted on hand and foot. Whatever stereotype you're telling yourself, you are actually dampening your potential financially where you want to go. Because if you do want to be an entrepreneur in the future, you can't be afraid of money. You can't be afraid of accepting it, afraid of wealth. You can't feel guilty or, be fearful that someone's going to rob you or anything like that. If you feel guilt around money, of course, you're never going to get to that point that you actually want to be at. And recognize that you have a fear-based mentality there being put on top of you because you were probably told in the past by friends and family that people who are very well off are bad or that money is evil. That has kind of stayed with you. But it's always good to question these thoughts that you have, especially when it's actually something that you want. If it's something that you want to build towards, really kind of reverse engineer it and understand, how do you truly feel about someone who has a lot of wealth? And if that's somewhere where you want to go, you will need to kind of understand and sort out those inner feelings about that stereotype first. Do you guys have any other examples on ways in which we're programmed to be poor in society? If you do, share them down below and we can really help learn from each other. Also, if you guys have any video ideas, drop them down below and I'll be sure to make a video of it in the future. But I tend to post 2 videos a week, guys, so if you want to learn more about personal finance, hopefully you can subscribe to this channel. That would be super helpful. Okay, I'll talk to you soon, guys. Bye.